Welcome to In the Stiffs podcast with me, Sam Aiston. I'm joined by my friends and former Shrewsbury teammates, Gavin Cowan and Dave Edwards. What year?
1986. Young pup.
Baby.
Wow.
Dad used to send me around to get the cows in.
You'd like to think you're going to get in the football team then, wouldn't you?
Imagine my little lad Jack joins Ponsonbury School. Sam Aiston there as deputy head. I'm like, what have we done?
And then around 27, 28, they're still thinking, I can still do it. And the reality is very, very unlikely.
Hard thing to accept, I suppose, wasn't it?
I was fortunate enough to have 1 3-year contract, which lasted 8 months.
Yeah, but you need a bit of advice, don't you? When you're 21, 22, you need a bit of support, don't you? It's easy to say that now at our age. I'd go in, Shrewsbury Town, if you're listening, I'll come in and tell the lads, get a course, do something. You're born in Southend.
But right, definitely, can I just clarify this? I'm not from Southend. That is the dirty part of South Essex.
Whistle through mine, born West End of Newcastle, posh part of Newcastle.
Brilliant, wrap it up, Wits, that'll do. Well done.
Hello everybody, welcome to In the Stiffs podcast. Apologies for episode 3 was a little bit longer than anticipated, but we were enjoying ourselves, weren't we lads? Well, today is going to be a little introduction to ourselves and how we have ended up sat around this table together. We've got Gavin from down south, Dave from the Midlands and me from the beautiful north. Dave, shall we start off from you? Dave, born Shrewsbury.
Local lad. Yep.
What year?
1986. Young pup.
Baby.
Wow.
But no, so I was born locally, grew up more towards the Welsh border, a little village called Halfway House. Farming background. So my dad's family's all farmers. My dad used to do the milking, so most of my childhood was spent on the farm. But my older brother, he was dead into farming, and he's got his own business now with sort of tractors and machinery, but I had no interest whatsoever. So I was always just in the fields or in the barns with football, and that was me.
Get you fit, strong.
Dad used to send me around to get the cows in.
So Halfway House, so what school did you go to?
I went to a very, very small primary school. There's only 7 in my year. Westbury Primary School, which is not far from where I lived.
You'd like to think you're going to get in the football team then, wouldn't you?
Yeah, so it's that was good. And then I went to Mary Webb, which is quite nice now because that's in Ponsonbury where I live now.
Yeah.
My lad goes to school there. My wife went to school there, so it's all really nice. And my little girl goes to the same school, Sam, that you had a little spell at as well, deputy head.
Yeah.
Imagine my little lad Jack joins Ponsonbury School. Sam Aiston there as deputy head. I'm like, what have we done?
Got this incredibly handsome deputy head teacher, Mr. Aiston. Dave's thinking, surely that can't be the same one.
I checked the Ofsted and everything beforehand, so imagine my surprise.
And then what happened from there? So when did you get picked up by Shrewsbury Town?
Well, a bit of an interesting one. So when I was just playing local football for Worthing Juniors, and when I was, I think it's 11, I got scouted by Wolves to go for a trial, a 6-week trial. Went on that, but about 2 weeks into the trial, Shrewsbury asked me as well, and I was a massive Shrewsbury fan. A few of my mates were already at the Centre of Excellence, so I just left Wolves, went straight to Shrewsbury, which looking back might have been a bit of a strange one, but I did that. But I was only there for 2 years, and I just didn't enjoy it. I absolutely hated the whole structure of it and the amount of training, not being able to play with my mates and things like that. So I really struggled with it. And so by the age of 13, I think it was, I knocked it all on the head and just went back to playing local football.
Did you? So it wasn't academies back then, was it? It was Centre of Excellences or School of Excellences, they used to call it.
Yes, Centre of Excellences, yeah. And it's nothing like it is now. We used to train once, maybe twice a week max. Just play more or less local teams around the Midlands and a little bit into the Northwest. But I just didn't enjoy it. I just wanted to play with my mates and have a bit of fun. And it was a little bit too structured for me at that age.
What was your parents' response to that, Dave? Because obviously at that age, there's a lot of parents, isn't there, that are really eager for their kids to get involved in football. What was it, when you've just turned around and gone, I don't want any of this, I want to play with the lads? What was their response?
I'm really lucky. My mum will just always whatever it is that makes you happy, you do that. And with my dad, it was actually my dad who said to me, you just don't look like you're enjoying it, mate. You have no spark and it doesn't look like you're improving because you're not enjoying it. Are you sure you want to be here? And then at that point I was like, I'm
Were you good though? Were you one of the best players there? When you were 13?
I wouldn't have said...
You were a star when you were 13?
I don't think so. I don't know. It's hard to remember back then, isn't it? But I don't think so. I could always run. I was always a runner, midfielder.
You weren't a childhood prodigy.
No, there was definitely better players than me in the team. So it's actually my dad who said to me, no, I think you should, if you're not enjoying it, just knock it on the head. So I never had any pressure, which you see a lot, like Sam, your lad's involved in academy now. My boy's been in the academy environment before as well, and you do see there's a lot of pressure from parents, isn't there, nowadays? Certain parents, it's not all the parents, some parents, and you find that it's the child who's living their dream. And I've seen it so many times, lads who I ended up playing in academies with, they hate in football by the time they're 17, 18, because they've gone through 7-8 years of intense pressure. And then it's all got a bit much for them. But yeah, I was lucky. And then I didn't, so after that I went back to playing just local football. But then as we got to, I think it was just before my year 11 in school, all my mates started to fall away from football, like my school mates. They were more interested in girls, just started having a few drinks and things like that. So all of a sudden we didn't really have a team. So I went and played with my brother then, just on a Saturday for a local team, an adults team, then on a Sunday for a pub team as well, Pontesbury. And I did that for 7 or 8 months until I finally got picked up again at Shrewsbury when I was in year 11 in school.
Crazy and then, little route that.
I've known Dave for all these years. I've never. That's the first I've ever asked him any of that. I just presumed you were at Shrewsbury from the age of 9 or 10.
Is that on your CV, the local pub? Have you got that right at the start?
No, and in that time as well, I actually played, because I was a massive Shrewsbury fan, so I was playing for the away supporters as well for, I think, maybe when I was 14, 15, had a couple seasons following town to away games, playing for the away supporters. And then it's crazy then to think it kind of come back round. But it was actually, so it was about the February of my year 11, and I was still playing for the county at the time for Shropshire. Yeah. And a guy called Ken Roberts, who used to be Chester manager. He's the one who famously kind of found Ian Rush, I think, or developed Ian Rush. And he asked me if I wanted to go back. And then a new academy manager, Nigel Vaughan, who I've mentioned before, a Welsh guy who I got really close to. And he asked me to go back. And I remember speaking to my mum about it, and I said, it wasn't like I was jumping at the chance. I was reasonably academic, and I thought, right, I had a plan that I wanted to be a physiotherapist, and I knew the odds in football wasn't great. So it wasn't like, this is my dream. But my mum said to me, you'll always regret it if you don't go back and give it a go. And I did, and got my scholarship, and then a year later I made my debut.
So you never signed schoolboy forms or anything like that? You just signed as an apprentice?
Yeah, I signed for three months until the end of the season, and then
got your apprenticeship.
I found out in about the April time, got the apprenticeship. Yeah, and then the following May I made my debut. So it kind of...
Wow, that's quick.
Jamie Vardy story.
That's quick, because we speak quite a lot, don't we? Like with regards to going back to obviously being young kids, about the likelihood of them now obviously reaching the echelons of the Premier League, and even you're fortunate enough to play non-league football, aren't you? It's such a massive chance, and you see so many parents almost desperate, aren't they? And we speak a lot about it, don't we? About how, from my perspective with my boys, it's about them going out there and picking up all them skills, like them social skills, working, like making friends. But also, like the other day, it was about him being competitive. Like he didn't enjoy losing, and I was glad he didn't enjoy losing. But equally, it was like, you've got to lose in the right way. So it's like trying to get that balance with him, and just trying to get him to understand that, look, it isn't the be all and end all, but you want him to push him as far as you can without the onus being, you're going to be a Premier League footballer, you're going to be a footballer full stop. I just tell him, enjoy it, go and be the best you can be. Obviously want to win, but understand that you're not always going to win. It's just trying to get that message.
Yeah, I mean, my boy being in the academy, it's not just about trying to become a professional footballer. I know that obviously ultimately that is the aim of the academy system. But I've said to him, it's the journey, isn't it? Enjoy yourself. And like Hugo says to me anyway, he says if football doesn't work out and he doesn't play for Barcelona, he'll just play for Shrewsbury.
Yeah.
I said, that's fine then, isn't it? If you know good, just do what your dad did, play for them then, that's fine, isn't it?
But I think it's got to be driven by the kid, hasn't it? And I listened to a podcast not long ago, and I found, say, my lad's been in and around it, and he didn't quite have the same desires. He was a really good little footballer, but he just didn't quite have that bite. And I was very similar to that when I was younger. It wasn't the be all and end all for me. And I listened to a podcast of Ian Thorpe, the swimmer, the Australian swimmer. Yeah. They asked him on the podcast, was it hard for your parents, for yourself, getting up at 4 or 5 in the morning, doing these swims before school? And what were your parents like, the support? And they said, my parents were great, but they said, if you want us to take you swimming, you come and wake us up. So you make sure you're up first, get all your stuff ready, and then we'll take you. But don't think we're getting you out of bed and do all that sort of stuff. And I think that kind of hits home. You've got to have the passion yourself. You've got to want to do it. And if you're one of those kids who's outside all the time playing football and ready to go to train every day, then that's brilliant. I was never really like that through my teens. Yeah, and I was kind of a bit lucky that I got a second opportunity.
My eldest lad's like that. He just wants to play with his mates. There's no pressure. With the youngest lad, it's about I'm trying to hold him back to say, look, just enjoy it. You know, he wants to be really competitive and he's got all these dreams and desires, and it's just enjoy yourself, you know. So I've got 2 of them that I'm trying to balance off. One of them I'm trying to encourage to be a bit more competitive and, you know, he wants to play with his mates, and the other one's like, you know, I'm gonna play for Liverpool, I'm gonna play for QPR, I'm gonna do this, and it's like, just enjoy it and say,
hard to get that balance, isn't it? Because
really
you
hard,
also
yeah.
you want to push them a little bit, and you've got to practice and you've got to improve. But you know, I think from my point of view, it is just trying to enjoy the journey and the experiences and everything that comes with it from being part of a team, the discipline, everything like that you learn. That is so important.
Funny enough, just speaking to friends the other day, and just being at school, bright orange hair, freckles all over my face, you know, absolute prime for a bit of banter. But ultimately from that, because you're good at football, you're supposedly good at football, people seem to think you are, you end up all of a sudden, all the lads in the year above want to know you because you play football. So it helped, all of that, making friends and being part of a social group, all of that's massive, isn't it? I think football's a massive thing for that, and sport in general. Obviously.
Serious, isn't it, this podcast?
So go on, just tell me what happened there then. So you were an apprentice at Shrewsbury, you made your debut 1 year into your apprenticeship.
Yeah, so the end of my first year.
Was that £45 a week or whatever you used to get paid then? Cleaning boots?
£45 a week, cleaning boots, yeah. I didn't have the glory of cleaning yours. I was cleaning the physios. Shakies.
Well, you wanted to be a fit. Oh, shaky. He was class, wasn't he?
Did he get a tip? Christmas tip?
Yeah, I must have done. Yeah, no, I must have done. I was doing all that and cleaning all the dressing rooms after games, the physio rooms. I remember sweeping the tunnel at the Gay Meadow and things like that.
That's how it should be, isn't it?
I'm absolutely a massive advocate of that. I mean, there's definitely a balance. Some of the stories that I'm sure all 3 of us could tell now might not be, you know, suitable to air, but definitely that side of it, that work ethic, like being there, having a pro, cleaning his boots, cleaning his pants, his training gear, jobs afterwards at the training ground. At the time, I will admit, you know, you look at it and you go, do I really want to be a footballer this much? But then you do it, and I look back now and it's the making of you, isn't it? It's the absolute making of you. As
a first year YT, you're actually quite excited to see whose boots you're going to get to clean and stuff like that. So I got the physios, which was a bit of a letdown. But I remember the lads used to love having Ryan. If you had Ryan Lowe's, it was good because he used to have so many boots and he'd want you to wear them in. And he'd say, yeah. And as soon as he's played in them about, I don't know, 3 or 4 games, he's like, yeah, I've had enough of these. And if you're the same size as him, you're straight in there and got all these new boots. But everyone was petrified with Gemmo. So Nigel jumps in.
Yeah, it's horrible. Horrible.
If he left any mud on his boots, he was in all sorts of trouble.
That was the brilliant thing though, wasn't it? Like being an apprentice with your pros, basically just had to adhere to it. I had a guy at Exeter called Darren Robotham, and he was brutal, absolutely brutal. But when it was all stopped, he would like take me to his house for the weekend. Do you know what I mean? Because I lived so far away from home. But around the training ground, he'd just be ruthless with you.
He spit Shrewsbury, didn't he, Darren Robotham?
How did he?
Yeah, I remember him.
Yeah, great finisher, like proper. He was at the end of his career, but proper player. But he, I don't know if it's a story I can say on air, but it was absolutely. It ended up in it being quite brutal, and me trying to think I was clever. But we were doing the goals around the training ground, and the pros were all in their twos, cooling down. So we were scurrying around, obviously getting all the equipment in and such. And he walked past. You remember that old saying, "What's your favourite colour, blue?" To try and confuse you. And I went, "What's that?" And he went, "What's your favourite colour, blue?" And you remember the old twice? When someone, I was like, "What's that, twice?" But obviously all the pros are there. So I'm walking past, obviously, like with a little bit of a stone in my shoe, like hopping past, have that Robo, like thinking I'm clever.
He's going to fill you in.
And we got in, and we got in, and the lads are like, "Mate, what are you doing?" I was like, "Yeah, be fine with it. He's all right. He's only a joke." And they were like, "Nah, mate, you're not getting away with that." So obviously the whole day went past, nothing. The next day went past, nothing. The next day went past. And I've got the tray of teas, and as I'm going into the pros room, I've seen them in the far corner, and they're sort of almost standing in an arc. And as I've got towards the table, I've realised something's wrong. So I've dropped this hot tray of tea, like obviously remember the old school pots. I've dropped it to turn and run on my heels, knowing that I'm going to get it. And there's loads of them stood behind the door. They've shut the door, and that's it. Then I'm in there with them. Take this as an example. You ever do anything like that again? And they got me out, and they all got me sort of. I was literally off the floor. And they took me into the YTS room. Obviously, all the lads are in there, petrified, hear me screaming, and they dumped me on the floor. Let that be known. Walked out, and all the lads like, "You all right? You all right?" And I was like, "I don't want to talk about it. But obviously, just from having the cheek to have a bit of banter with him, they're flipping,
It's good that you didn't say a word to an older pro, though, would you? You couldn't get away with it.
So the kids no one cleans any boots anymore?
No. I think the The best thing I've seen in recent years is at Reading, and it's a bit of a tradition that the kids will have to put on a Christmas show for the first team.
Yeah, we used to have to do that as well.
That's great fun, and they've got one of the lads. It was usually Paul McShane at Reading. He would put a script together with the kids, and he would just have all the lads off, and the lads would be raging. They got these 16, 17-year-olds just having them off. But that was good fun. But apart from that, no, there's nothing like that at all.
It used to be exciting, didn't it? Because Christmas, you would come, you'd get, like you say there, you would get your money or whatever you'd get. Or say if you got Ryan would give you a few pairs of boots. I don't know who used to clean my boots at Shrewsbury then. I think he probably ends up lending me 20 quid at Christmas.
Didn't get that dirty, did you? Never went near the middle of the pitch.
I had that age group with Goey, Henry Go, Jamie Haynes, George Hughes.
Was it still going on then?
With Cads. Yeah, they were doing it then, to be fair.
But for me, coming through the youth team, it was almost a written rule that once you come through the youth team, you don't get anyone to do your boots then until you're really established.
Especially if you're in the first team in your first year apprenticeship, you could get a second year apprentice doing it, couldn't it?
Do you remember Chris Murphy?
Yeah.
Always remember. So he was a first year pro when I was a YTS, and one of the lads had his boots, but he would never let him wash them. He was too embarrassed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He didn't want to let it.
Stay humble.
Yeah.
So then after that, Shrewsbury for how many years?
5 years. From when I was 16, and I left when I was.
And all you were doing was
21.
football there. You weren't doing anything else there. There was no studying any.
Yeah, I was doing my education. Yeah, so I'd done my A levels in psychology and PE, and I did an AS in business studies as well. They were really good at the club when I first came, because the usual thing is that you'll get put on the same sort of course.
You all do. You used to have to do travel and tourism on a Thursday, didn't you? There was just an absolute disaster.
We had leisure and tourism.
Leisure and tourism. Yeah. You might have gone to the posher one.
Yeah,
then
must have done it. The advanced one.
The kids did.
We had a guy called Alan Jones who does a lot of the Shropshire FA, but he kind of said, when I came on, he said, look, you've done quite well in your GCSEs. Do you want to do anything else? I said, yeah, I want to do it. So, and they're really good. I had my own tutor and things like that, so it was amazing. That was really good. But
I know Alan Jones. What a guy he is, isn't he?
Yeah, great guy.
Shropshire Schools and Colleges FA, isn't
That's
it?
right.
Yeah.
And he was so proud, because our year group, we had 8 taken on from school, and we were all from Shropshire, which is, I think, the first time it ever happened, and probably the last time as well, I'd imagine.
So you got all your exams, did your A levels, carried on to Shrewsbury, left Shrewsbury for Wolves when you were what age?
I went to Luton first.
Oh, sorry, Luton first. What age?
21, and then
still young, that isn't it? Then.
Yeah.
You moved down there.
Moved there. I was excited. I was sort of a young lad going down. I used to think it was London. It's not really near London, but getting to live sort of down somewhere on my own and experience new things. I was excited, but then I missed Shrewsbury straight away.
Who did you live with down there then?
So I was in a hotel for about 6 to 8 weeks.
You're a bit of a home bird, the one.
Yeah, and then I bought a house, which was a bit of a mistake looking back, and it was like 2007 that was, so just before the crash. And I bought it, and then I lived in it for about a month before I got sold. So I was lucky. I sold the house straight away, lost a little bit of money, but I'm glad I didn't keep on to it. So yeah, I was only there 6 months. They went into administration, and
it's not Ponsbury, is it?
No. I lived in.
It's not the beautiful Ponsbury.
I lived in a place called Flitwick, which was just north of, which was nice.
So then from Luton, you went to where?
That was to Wolves then.
Then to Wolves. And then you moved back, obviously.
Moved straight back, yeah.
Not to Ponsbury.
Yeah, I was living in town at this point. Yeah, so I lived in town for a couple of years before moving back out to Ponsbury.
What about education, everything? Do anything then?
Yeah, I was doing courses just off my own back. I remember I did a few different business courses and things like that.
Fair play.
Is that with the PFA, Dave?
Yeah, I found the course myself and then got the PFA to pay for it.
They're good at the PFA.
Oh, brilliant.
They've always been.
Pay for half of everything, don't they?
Yeah, I've always been really fortunate with them.
Did many of the lads doing stuff like that then at Wolves? Or were you literally the only one?
No, there's a couple. Danny Bath, he was. He did all of
Stoke
his.
now.
Yeah, he's at Stoke, and I think he probably only just finished his studies. And he did 5 or 6 years to try and get I don't know if he's got a degree or something like that in sports science and stuff like that. But no, there wasn't many, I think. And again, once you kind of get to that sort of level, especially when it's Championship, Premier League, I think the lads just kind of forget about it a little bit because they'll be earning good money and
you're not so worried.
It's not as intense, as I think when you're in the lower league, you see a lot more lads doing it, especially when they get to late 20s. They're thinking this isn't going to last so much longer, and you need to kind of
exactly right, Dave. Exactly right.
As soon as you finish, you need to get straight into another.
In the lower leagues, I'm amazed at the amount of lads that don't do it. Really, it shocks me. It shocks me the amount of lads that are not thinking about the next stage.
But I suppose it's natural, isn't it, when you're younger? I mean, people would ask me when I was 21, 22, what are you going to do when you finish playing football? And I would just reply, be playing golf in Portugal.
But there's lads who play non-league, Sam, and like League Two, who are like, they're not going to be on lucrative contracts. They're not going to be on lengthy contracts. And they're in and around 27, 28, they're still thinking, yeah, I can still do it. And the reality is very, very unlikely.
Hard thing to accept, I suppose, isn't it? But you've got to start. You've got to have a backup plan and have a plan B.
Well, I think so. I think, like, for me, that's the route I went down. Like, I had options to stay in League Two, and like we've spoken before, my decision was, well, do I stay hunting year to year? It's different for you. They obviously at that level they offer 3, 4, 5 year contracts. I was fortunate enough to have 1 3-year contract which lasted 8 months, and I think that was the decision in the end. I signed that 3-year deal. It lasted 8 months, and I thought, you know what, I've got the opportunity to now play League Two football, or financially I can have something that's either on par or better than playing league football and pursue obviously the next stage of your life. And that's a decision that is, you're right, it's very difficult, because I had, at the time, my mum and dad aren't with us anymore, but they were very much like, you're a footballer, you've always been a footballer, you've got to continue to do it. I'd seen teammates who were getting to like 33 and were panicking and were going, actually, I haven't thought about this stage. So I'd made that decision. I think I was 29, and I was like, right, I'm going to try and be the best I can within non-league, and then obviously tried to that next stage, which, it sort of paid dividends for me.
I think it's even more daunting now, because how quickly you can fall out the game. There's that many professionals, isn't there, playing at the moment, that you'd never think about really re-educating at 23, 24, 25, and if you're in the lower leagues, because you still think you've got 10 years of playing, but lads can fall out the game so quickly now, so it is a little bit
I think
scary.
they get advised more these days. They get encouraged to do courses or no.
I don't think so. No,
I don't either.
No.
I don't think there's enough of it going on.
There's the option there to do it, and the PFA are great, and the PFA reps are great, but I still think that the players got to go search
whose interest is it really? You look at the PFA. I think the PFA are brilliant. They've done brilliant for me personally. I can only speak as I find, but they've done great for the most part. But within whose interest is it? It's theirs, isn't it? They've got to make the moves. You've got to be accountable for what you're going to be doing in your life.
The lads, the kids,
lads, they've got to be accountable for themselves, I think. And I think
you need a bit of advice, don't you? When you're 21, 22, you need a bit of support, don't you? It's easy to say that now at our age.
But I think that's the point of all these top Premier League clubs, isn't it? Are they willing to filter money down the pyramid to help invest in these things? Because the reality is, a League One club are not going to invest in someone's future at this moment in time, because one, they want them to focus on the here and now, and two, they haven't got the finances to do it.
But I don't know. I think it's other people, senior people. I suppose. So I'd go in Shrewsbury Town, if you're listening. I'll come in and tell the lads, get a course, do something.
Oh, absolutely.
100%.
Yeah, and
especially if you're playing for Shrewsbury Town and you're training 4 days a week and you're finishing at 1 o'clock. Instead of going on Grand Theft Auto for 4 hours, get yourself to college.
I think from my experience, it's like a once a season thing. So people will come in at the start of the season, say, these courses are available, give us a shout if you want to do anything, and then it's just soon forgotten about.
Yeah, good one, mate. Jog on, crack on. Yeah. Go on then, Dave. So after that, so talk us through what else have you been up to since then? Then so Wolves, then you went
Reading, then Shrewsbury, and then.
So when you're back at Shrewsbury and you're coming towards the end, how old were you? Towards the end,
I signed at 32 and I sort of retired at 30.
So from 32, what did you set up from 32? What thinking about when you retire?
Again, I was quite lucky that I kind of started setting up before that. So I had done from I would say 27, 28, I started really thinking about the future, and not just sort of what I'd do with my money, but also what I want to do when I'm older. And I've always been dead interested in business and setting stuff up. And I started setting up a few different businesses, which are all, touch wood, still going now. And that was kind of, I always thought that I didn't want to just start a brand new business when I was 33, 34. I wanted to get it established a bit earlier, so you can kind of give it its best chance. Yeah, so I did that.
Good planning, Dave. Good planning.
Yeah, it took me to retirement, and then it eases the transition then a little bit, doesn't it?
Definitely. I think you need something when you retire. I think the people who get themselves in difficulty sometimes are the ones who've got too much money and they retire and they haven't got a purpose. You need a purpose, I think, after you retire.
Is that what remember Rio Ferdinand saying something about it, didn't he? That obviously he's got all this wealth coming in week to week. And then obviously that stops, but you've still got all the overheads. You've still got, with these businesses, you've still got all the investment and everybody's still wanting, and you've got to acclimatise to that. So you've almost got to try and make 10 times what that is to be able to keep up with the business element of it.
And it's crazy when people finish football, especially looking at the lads who are in super money, like they're like thousands and thousands of pounds a week. You'll speak to them about investing their money, and if you do this at the right time, blah, 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 you might be able to earn 100 grand a year off your investments, which is crazy money. And they look at you like, 100 grand a year. That sounds, they work out what it is a month, and it's like it's massive difference to what they're earning a month now, and they can't see that will be good money when they incredible money when they retire. So it's trying to help lads realise the sort of normality when it does come to retirement. I think a lot of players are so far away from reality, and that's because of the crazy money.
And you talk about senior players, absolutely. I think we'd all be more than willing to go into football clubs and do that. We've actually embarked on trying to do something like that in the future. But I think
just give us a quick run through of your life career so far. Then
can it not be as long as Dave's? Or you're not as interested?
Just press for time. We don't another 2 hours. Come on, go.
So Dave get what 28 minutes. I'll get 2 minutes in at the end. Okay, right.
You're born in Southend,
but right, definitely. Like, can I just clarify this? I'm not from Southend. That is the dirty part of South Essex. So no, not from there. I was actually born in Germany, so my father was in the forces. And
look a bit like Oliver Kahn.
You got me speaking quickly now, because can we get Oliver Kahn on the show? If he knows he looks like me, he'll probably come on. He'll be buzzing.
Oliver, if you're listening.
Yeah, Oliver, if you're listening. You won the lottery. Yeah, so my father was in the forces, so Germany, came over at a really young age, and there's an army base in Colchester, so we were based in Colchester, so went to school there just through football, ended up working up and sort of been in and around Chelmsford, and then working up the A12 towards London, but come from a area of deprivation, typical council estate, little bit of crime here and there, but also, brilliant in terms of...
not for middle-class Shropshire?
No, not for middle-class Shropshire, no. But was really fortunate, actually, just through football. There was a school that I suppose is like the Thomas Telford of where I'm from, that, it wasn't very likely that I would get in there, that I was never going to achieve to get in there, and they wouldn't normally take it from our sort of postcode, if you like, our area. But fortunately, through football, my mum was overheard gossiping at training. Letter got sent to the school, and after the third time of being rejected, on the fourth occasion I was accepted in, and that was a real big moment for me, because then it was mixing with middle class kids, being in a middle class environment, higher expectations.
And you're playing football at school, always playing football?
All constantly. And it was really my hook, because again, I was a lad from a very, very different area to these guys. I played football, sort of junior football with some of them, and sort of knew them that way, but it was a very different way of life. They're middle class, and I struggled for the first year, because obviously, it's that communication, that social side, isn't it, of people saying hello and you're going, all right, and they're like, good morning, and I'm like, yeah, is it a good morning? I couldn't really quite click. And then after a year of sort of, I suppose, a few run-ins and a bit of trouble, all of a sudden you realise you're the common denominator for things not going well, and then you started to conform a little bit. And then I had a brilliant teacher, actually, who funny enough was from Telford, a guy called Ian Clegg, who was an unbelievable mentor to me, and would get me out of all sorts of problems that I would encounter in school. That teachers would say, well, you won't be playing in that football match tonight, and then he'd drag me in and be like, you're killing me, putting me in that position.
That happens to me now when your teacher says, he can't play today, he's been naughty, and I'm sort of thinking, okay, but he's our best player and it's the semi-final tonight. I'm all for any punishment, but can we do the punishment tomorrow, please, because we need him to play tonight.
And I could tell my teachers they knew that I was a little bit more streetwise than the others, so they would essentially talk to me differently away from the others, so they would be very sort of professional around the other kids, and like with me, they knew they could talk to me in a certain way, and I would respond. So I was really fortunate to have that mentor, and then from there I was able to get playing for your junior clubs, your trials. And
so how old were you before you got picked up by a
really young, how it used to work back then is, like you say, it's a school of excellence, centre of excellence type thing, and what would happen is you play for your local Sunday junior team, and then where I'm from as well, there would be like the local district, and then there would be obviously towards London, and so you'd have all of these clubs. Where we are, it's not in Newcastle, it's Newcastle, isn't it? Here it's Shrewsbury and Wolves if you're lucky. So for me, there's just so many clubs. So every week what they would do is they'd give their cards, their little calling cards, and they'd obviously go to the manager and Arsenal this week, and Tottenham, and it'd be like Ipswich and Norwich as well, weren't too far away, so you just have a cluster of cards. And I wasn't the only one. I was really, actually, where I played, there was some really talented lads who we had.
Were you a superstar as a kid when you were like 13, 14? Were you brilliant? Were you miles ahead of the others?
No, I wouldn't say so. I think I was better than the others, but I don't think it was stand out. I think everybody would have assumed that I was going to go on, and obviously as kids they're like, he'll play for the. When I was signing my leavers book at school, it was like, give me a shout when you're watching me on TV and all of that. When I'm in the Premier League, and obviously people would be like, Gavin, what's Gavin going to do? He's going to go and be a footballer. Like that was always the theme. So I suppose for me it was never an option not to do it. But again,
always a defender.
No. When I was striker to start with, obviously. With these feet, you couldn't waste these feet, could you?
Right,
you couldn't waste these feet.
Flipping
it, yeah. I don't know. I've got something like the record in the Colchester.
Can someone check that?
I don't know. Yeah, can we fact check that?
Can we fact check that? Because I'm not having that at all.
Yeah, over 100 goals. I can't remember exactly.
It's 123, but I can't remember exactly.
But played like we had a really good team, and obviously then we moved into the sort of the Echo League, which was the London League, to try and challenge ourselves. And then you're playing up against like your Ledley Kings and your John Terrys and your Nicky Shawries, and
humbling.
Yeah. You go from winning 14-0 to you've drawn 1-1, and you're lucky to have drawn. You're flipping heck, like these lads are on
levels. Levels.
We played against, I think they were Senrab, they were called, and I think it was John Terry's team, and we got spanked 4-1. And I think it was the first.
Are you the same age as them, Ledley King, John Terry?
That's
your age, and they're all in the same area, all around London.
Well, they're more towards London, but it's not too far. But there was like we were Essex, and a lot of those guys would come from London to play for the Essex County squad. And if you got into the Essex County squad, you were considered to be a bit of a deal. So you'd come in and out of that, and then there'd be East Anglia as well, which was considered like to play for England, really, East Anglia. So you went to a couple of tournaments abroad, to like Italy and Denmark and places like that. So all a really young age, which was amazing.
What age is this then?
So I went to Denmark when I'd just left primary school. So you go there and you represent, you do all of that, And so at that time, you're obviously thinking,
am I going to pay for Barcelona or Real Madrid?
Basically, yeah. I don't know, like worst case scenario, I'll go to AC Milan or something like that. But so I was really fortunate because as well, you're playing against a lot of good players, so obviously raises your game, and then you do get humbled quite a lot. So and there was a lot of teams around us. So you end up jumping really as a schoolboy, and there was like Ipswich, Norwich, Arsenal, Leyton Orient, Colchester, like all of these clubs that you end up bouncing around, and a lot of us sort of did the circuit, and you'd want to try and like a friend of mine, Greg Oates, ended up at Arsenal, and I'd gone there for 6 weeks and was like buzzing to be at Arsenal, and you're playing and training there. And
did he sign for anybody though? Did he sign in school?
Who did
you sign for?
Yeah, so amongst all of them teams, you end up signing schoolboy forms for all of them, and then coming away. It's not so much as what it is now, like they like, so you'd sign for a season. And then what would happen is, like, you'd sign for Leyton Orient, for example. So you'd sign for Leyton Orient, but then obviously Arsenal would come calling. So then you'd go and sign for, like, you'd be able to go to Arsenal, and they'd allow that to happen because it's Arsenal. And then you get to Arsenal and wouldn't be quite good enough. So you'd be like, right now I'm back at Colchester.
Whereas now, obviously, if they can't do that, if you're going to take a player from another club, you have to pay compensation, which of course is right, isn't it? So if Shrewsbury have had someone for 6 years and invested in that player, and Wolves want to take someone, they've obviously got to pay compensation, which is what they should do.
Yeah, and I think obviously if you're ripping it up, if you're absolutely ripping it up and you're playing for, I don't know, Leyton Orient, for example, they're probably not letting you go to Arsenal, but at that time it's like, right, you're 13 now, you've got an opportunity to go there, we'll let you go. And then you go to Arsenal and they're like, you're not quite good enough. And then so you end up back at Colchester, and then Ipswich come calling their championship, and then you get that opportunity to do it. So I think back then it was all a little bit like more negotiating. I think there was a bit more, maybe there was a bit more integrity around working with parents as well, and being able to say, look, it's a great opportunity for him to go up there. Look, we're not going to stand by, and you go there and you do well. So I ended up then doing my apprenticeship through Exeter City.
So you're an apprentice, at Exeter.
Yeah, so I ended up doing that. So got released.
That's a fair way from.
Yeah, so
obviously you went and lived in digs in Exeter.
Yeah, I'd briefly been at the QPR, and then obviously just hadn't really become a man at that time, So it was, I think ability-wise wasn't a problem, but it was at that time I was just a bit of a late developer, and then find myself at Exeter and was, went on trial, absolutely loved it. Then got there, and then, like you say, ultimately you start getting a little bit homesick. You're 4 hours away from home. You're giving it everything you can. Just really, really struggled was the truth. Struggled to settle down. Struggled to really just try and get some continuity. I remember picking up a calf injury and being out for ages, and then you come back and you can't get yourself going. And then it's like, all of a sudden you find yourself out the youth team, and you go, if I'm not getting in the youth team.
It's a short period, isn't it? You've got 2 years to have a real good crack at it, and you've got to make a mark in that 2 years, and an injury would absolutely kill you, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So that's what happened. So you left Exeter?
Yeah, so I was at Exeter. It didn't go well with me and the youth team manager. And looking back now, obviously at the time, like I said, it wasn't an enjoyable experience. But when you look at actually what I did, lived in a house with 15 other lads. I mean, we lived in a huge, what would I call it, like a townhouse, but it was massive. There was probably 15 of us in there. There was YTs, there was pros. Noel Blake lived there, obviously. So all of these things that you're learning, your social skills, you're finding out about each other. Obviously, the fights would break out there, arguments constantly, a lot of testosterone flying around. Then you got to fend for yourself. So I was having to, at 16, 17 years old, having to fend for myself, trying, on £42.50 a week, trying to not spend that on sweets, I suppose, at the time. So, yeah, it was a massive learning curve from me. And then, came away from there and just decided.
So you came away from there. You're not you didn't get offered professional or anything.
No, well, I was.
So you
that was a story in itself. So that was agreed, and then that was a big part of me leaving because in the end that didn't happen. So
you went back to Essex. Then what? Then where?
Back to Essex, and I went. I remember going to Barnet. I went on trial to Barnet. Was supposed to sign there. Got pulled at the last minute, and then my cousin at the time was playing for Ipswich Town, so he said, come training, and I'd been there previously, and there's a guy there, a well-respected coach called Brian Clew. He was like, yep, come in, and it was brilliant. And what had happened is they were doing, you remember it'd gone from the YT to the scholarships, so I'd come away as obviously a YT, but they were doing 3-year scholarships, so they were talking now about giving me an extra year. And I was absolutely buzzing. So I was thinking, this is going to be fantastic. And I remember Titus Bramble was there and I'd known him previously as well. And they were like, yeah, brilliant. We're really pleased. Come in tomorrow. So I remember being on the train with my cousin, absolutely buzzing, cloud nine. Then got there and he just said, we've had a bit of a problem. We're only allowed 18 in a squad and you're actually going to be the 19th. So that's gone as well. And from that moment, I was like, that's me done. I'm done with football. I'll just play with my mates.
So you sacked it in? Just
decided to play with my mates. And then where I'd been at Ipswich, there was a guy there called, he runs a charity now with Titus Bramble, a guy called Simon Milton, brilliant guy. And he was playing for non-league team called Braintree Town. And he contacted me and said, look, obviously I've heard what's happened. Absolutely devastated for you. What a terrible thing to happen. Why don't you come training? And I was like, honestly, I'm absolutely fine. He's like, no, honestly, just come training. He was like, even if you just come with the reserves. I was like, I don't mind that. I'll come and have a kick about or whatever. So I've strolled into the ground and me being me, I've just strolled in. Hiya, Gavin, you all right? Yeah, brilliant. Was that there? Yeah, brilliant. Should I just go out there? Yeah, brilliant. Walked out and obviously started training with what I thought was the reserves, actually the first team. So started training and obviously doing relatively well. And then Simon Milton wasn't there because he'd had other commitments because obviously he's with Ipswich as well. And then he came to the next session and he was laughing and he said, how do you think you got on? I said, yeah, no, it was good. And he was like, yeah, that was the first team that you trained with. I was like, right, okay. Not that good of a standard then, is it? And he was like, I wouldn't say that out loud. The lads
is that in a conference?
I think it was a one below at the time. And you obviously don't say that to them. They'd all been brilliant players and obviously coming to the end of their careers and some top players there that had sort of played quite high, like Premier League, like Simon Milton and Lee Hunter was playing there as well.
Hunter from Gladiators.
Yeah, that's it. Hunter from Gladiators. Yeah. So ended up going to play there, but I was adamant I only wanted to play for the reserves. So I ended up playing 18 games and scoring 23 goals from centre half in the reserves, and was like, that'll do me. I'm all right now. I'm fine. And they convinced me to sign for the first team. I will pay you. So I was like, yeah, go on then. Why not? I'll have a go. And then ended up being there for a period of time, doing quite well. Canvey Island, obviously. Then
you went from Braintree to Canvey.
Yeah, so they were really
from Canvey. That's when you came.
Yeah, they were really on the up at the time, and obviously, it was quite well documented that they were bringing in players from higher leagues and paying good money, and so they actually paid money for me to go to Canvey, and then went there.
That's part time, though, isn't it? That's still training. I was that training.
No, Canvey was like a hybrid thing. So we were in the day, it was full time. Now they wanted when I first went there, it was hybrid and it was evenings, and then they wanted to go to full time. So the transition into that full time, because obviously that now we've been promoted into the conference, because I think we've been promoted in January to the conference from the Conference South, and which was obvious with the players that they had. And then started playing for England C, obviously playing in the top echelons of the conference, being selected for England C. Then had a little bit of a fallout, should we say, with Canvey. Wanted to go and sign for.
Yeah, fallout with
it's a common theme, isn't it?
Hold on a minute. Been very,
let's
very,
not
very
tarnish the brush.
There,
let's not tarnish the brush.
So then Shrewsbury signed you from Canvey.
Yeah, but I'd gone on loan. I'd gone on loan to Nuneaton, which I didn't have a clue where it was in the country. But Canvey wouldn't let me go anywhere in the conference or in the league because I wouldn't sign a new contract basically. And there'd been a little bit of an episode in a hotel, let's say. With me and the lads messing around. Won't go into it too much, but the lads who are listening will be laughing their head off. Yeah, went on loan, and that's where I was on loan at Nuneaton. Obviously didn't have a clue where I was, what was going on, but the people there were amazing. Ended up having a great time, and that's where GP ran down from the stand and started sizing me up.
So then you said he signed for Shrewsbury, went professional in Shrewsbury, moved to Shrewsbury.
Yeah.
Played for Shrewsbury for how many seasons?
2.5.
2.5 seasons. Then from Shrewsbury went to...
Grays,
yeah.
And when did you start... What would you start building a business in that time? Was it Shrewsbury where you started building?
Grays was the catalyst, because I'd signed at Grays on financially it was a ridiculous deal. It was 3 years. I had a mate there, called him up. What's it like down there? Yeah, brilliant. Went there. As soon as I knew, the first day I went training, I just knew that, it was a shocking move. Shouldn't have made it. It was just absolute calamity, the whole place.
You started thinking, I need to put something in place here for the future.
Well, the thing was, it was like life-changing. So you go there, 3 years, financially ridiculous, moving back to Essex, that was the big key, really. I've had enough of all this, running around like flipping, I want to try and get a little bit of, I suppose, continuity in my life, a few boundaries or whatever, and then went there and just knew from day one. So yeah, didn't have a great time there, but strangely enough, it was the best thing that ever happened to me, because like you say, you're chasing this dream. You've been a footballer, been full-time footballer for probably about 10 years, yeah, and then you're going, right, I've been a part-time footballer, full-time footballer, starting to go, look, there's all of this flirting, you're going, like, when I first joined Shrewsbury, it's like, I remember he's going to the Championship, he's doing this, in that first proper pre-season, all of them stories, when I was at Braintree, QPR, you're going to QPR, Watford, all of this flirting, all of the time, it just became a little bit exhausting for me. So, you've been involved with clubs like Arsenal, you've been involved with clubs like, mentioning to you about QPR, and all of this flirting just got exhausting. And I was just like, look, at the end of the day, I think at the time I'd got to 29, and I was just like, look, am I going to keep chasing this dream, or am I going to start putting plans in place? Because it was very scary for me to... that upheaval. I was still living with my mum. I didn't get paid for 12 weeks at Grays and all of this. It's a very scary time.
So you've come from an uncertain background in football, whereas you think that this can go wrong at any moment because it's gone wrong at any moment. So you're thinking, let's get something in place. So you start your coaching company. I enrolled on a degree, went through Shrewsbury College, did a 2-year course with those guys. They were brilliant over there. They were so good to me. And then, went on to do my degree. After Shrewsbury, where did you go? You kept your coaching company going even when you left Shrewsbury?
Yeah, so started the...
Was it always in your mind, Gav, to come back to Shropshire though?
When I'd moved back down to Essex, I'd had such a lovely feeling here. What a brilliant place Shropshire is, and I'd had the same feeling in Devon with Exeter. But Shrewsbury, everything came together. I bought a house here, made a bit of a life here, and it's funny, isn't it? There's so many footballers that move from out of town, move to Shrewsbury, whether to play for Shrewsbury or not, and then there's so many ex-players who still live around it just because it's such a beautiful county. And I just wanted to move back. The feeling I've got of being here, and I knew. I then had the opportunity to leave Grays and go back to League Two, and I had 3 or 4 opportunities. And I always remember being in the car park at Barnet, and Paul Fairclough, who was the manager at the time, he's also the England C manager, he was walking towards the car, and I was on the phone to the Nuneaton manager, and he was saying, what would it take to get you here? And I was saying, like, it's going to take this, it's going to take that, I'm going to need this to live, and it's a 2-year contract. And he just went, leave it with me. So I went into Barnet, and I sat down, and he just said to me, I always remember, he said, we can give you X, Y and Z a week. And I was just like, Paul, I'm not going to be able to live in the most affluent part of the country or travel from Essex for that. And he's like, well, you've just had a big payoff. And there was this big thing, because I'd signed this big deal with Grays, because I'd left early, everyone just assumed that I'd had this huge payoff. So I was like, no, that's not the case. And you're just playing the game. And I was like, look, I can't sign for that. So then got back in the car to Nuneaton, and they said, what have you been offered? I said, I've been offered, like, obviously made it out to be far bigger than it was. And he went, right, well, go on then, we'll do it. And I just, that moment, straight away, I'm going to do it. I'm going to move back to Shrewsbury. I'm going to commute to Nuneaton. I'm going to get my degree done. And I literally got it all in my head. This is what I'm going to do. And I did it within a month. I was back in the house. Tenants had left.
Kept your business going?
Well, no, that's when I went to start the business.
All right.
Yeah, so went to start the business.
Well, and played for Nuneaton, start your business.
So went to Nuneaton. Nuneaton then went bump at the time, and then signed for Telford. So that's when signed for Telford, realised, right, okay, I'm paying the bills, but need to think of something bigger.
Yeah.
That's when started Crossbar, started to build it, and obviously that's 14 years ago. And then, just played non-league football, tried to play at the highest echelons of non-league football. Truth is, after leaving Telford wasn't a lucrative, but after leaving Telford, it was probably about going, right, I need to try and look after me, my family. Obviously, football's not going to last forever. And then went to some clubs that wasn't ideal, but then went to a couple of clubs that was brilliant to play at. Went back to Nuneaton and had 3 years there, like in the conference. Brilliant
part-time gives you the beauty of being able to do that other stuff, doesn't it?
So fortunate, just like yourself, probably not on such a scale, but being able to look at investment, being able to look at business, being able to look at family environment. My kids are growing up in Shropshire. And it's just,
So you've done all that, and then you also start your coaching badges.
Yeah.
You've done all your coaching badges.
Done all my badges,
What have you done now?
So
pro licence? A licence?
Done the A licence, yeah. I'm on a waiting list for the pro licence, but you have to be working within a certain echelon of football to be able to complete the pro licence.
And then, so you're doing you started doing a bit of coaching. You did a bit of coaching at Gainsborough, didn't you, when you were with Brian Little?
Yeah, I did bits and pieces, but I obviously went to Nuneaton after that and played 3 years in the conference. And then because you're that senior player, you know, managers asking you to help, was a player assistant at Nuneaton for a little while, and then signed for Solihull Moors as a player coach. That was my first real step into coaching. And then won the league with them, was amazing. Came away from them after that. Unfortunately, my father had passed away, so it was time to come away from football, try and obviously spend a bit of time with the family. And then, got a call from Rob and Larry at Telford asking me to come down and help out with a little bit of coaching. So did that voluntarily for about a season and a half, just trying to help and obviously be around. Great, obviously, for me just to be on the grass and fine-tuning my skills. And then Rob Edwards came in, so I was really lucky to work under Marcus Bignett coaching. Gives you a real perspective, see a brilliant coach. Good
managers, when you've been a coach, that set you up for you then get your first manager's job at Telford.
Yeah. So I preceded Rob Edwards, who was immense, brilliant coach, great guy, class act. And then, got the Telford job. So Telford were in a real tough position at the time, probably 6 figures of debt, really.
That's another episode, isn't it, Telford?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Telford United supporters would like to hear that, wouldn't they?
Yeah, good. Yeah, and I'd like to tell the story. I'm still good friends with Andy Price, who's the chairman. You know, great guy, and left it on brilliant terms because we'd done a brilliant job. You know, I probably wouldn't have got the job if they weren't. And again, we like you say, it's another podcast, but I probably wouldn't have got the job if they weren't in such dire situations. Does that make sense?
So, are you looking to get it back into management now?
Yeah, we'll do. Yeah. I've been fortunate to have offers. You
yourself as a football manager and a business owner.
Yeah. So, like I say, coming away from Telford, it was like an apprenticeship for me. So you're taking it from 6 figures of debt. Basically, they're about to shut the doors. What we did, we went through an unbelievable first year, eradicated a lot of debt, went through 2 pandemic seasons.
This is pitch for a job interview, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, if there's
Telford's a different one, isn't it?
Yeah, we will do. Yeah, but just in short, it was brilliant. What we did is I only planned on staying there sort of 18 months, 12 months even, if I could get to it. Was then offered a 2-year deal, but again, like I say, another podcast. But it was a brilliant opportunity, and it was a great apprenticeship for me. And I've been fortunate enough to have a couple of offers already, but a lot of energy went into those 3.5 years. So a bit of time with the family now, and then now the new year's here, my ears to the ground, and I've got a few conversations this week, funny enough, with people, and I'm fortunate again because of the Crossbar Group, I can be relatively selective. So the few things that have been offered been really flattering, but I've just respectively said, look, need a little bit of time out, and maybe we'll revisit it at a later date. But yeah, definitely see myself going back into that. You know, if you believe that you're good at something, then you pursue it, don't you? But if that comes, then great. If it doesn't, then my life at the moment is very fortunate. I've got a wife, 4 kids, business, very happy day to day. So yeah, good.
Podcast
as well. Podcast should have been number one, shouldn't it?
That should be the biggest thing on your mind at the moment.
Well, the truth is, obviously my wife will probably listen to this, so I have to be a little bit careful.
Taking ages too long, right? I want to whistle through mine. Born West End of Newcastle, posh part of Newcastle.
Brilliant. Wrap it up, Wits. That'll do. Well done.
Old boys Catholic school. So that's why when everybody else was chasing girls, I was just doing football, so I didn't have a girlfriend.
That makes a lot of sense.
That helped me out massively. So when all my other friends had played boys' clubs, we were all running around chasing girls, I was just playing football. So best thing to do for your kids is send them to an all boys school. No distractions. When Newcastle Centre of Excellence, as it was back then.
What age you go to the Centre of Excellence?
13, 14. I wasn't the best until I was like 11 or 12 or anything like that.
Yeah.
Started playing when I was 13.
Any 14. Players in and around your age group that were...
Not really, surprisingly enough, Newcastle. A couple of years older, like Lee Clark,
great catchment Watson, area, isn't it?
Steve Watson, Alan Thompson. They were all a little bit older.
Great year of that. Great year.
Michael Chopra, a couple of years younger.
You played with him, Dave Chopra.
Or with him, against him.
Oh, right, a lot, yeah.
I think he was 2 or 3 years younger than me. But I was more of an athlete than a footballer, so I used to do athletics. Like I always tell people, if it wasn't for the ball, I'd have played for England. That's what I tell everybody. I didn't do an apprenticeship. I got offered an apprenticeship in Newcastle, but I didn't do it. I stayed on at school, went to sixth form. Remember Pavel Cernacek?
Yeah.
He used to pick me up from when we finished training, he used to take me to school.
What was the conversation like there?
He's died. He's passed away, didn't he? Well, he used to have all this sort of Czech music on and everything. Obviously,
I used to have the Newcastle goalkeeper shirt.
Yeah,
and it was
Pavel as a Geordie. Yeah. It was brilliant. Did my A-levels, started to play for the Sunderland youth team. So in Sunderland, I was getting slagged off for being a Geordie, whatever. And in Newcastle, I was getting slagged off for being a Mackem, whatever. Didn't seem very fair, really.
Why? Obviously, you chose not to do the Newcastle thing. Then Sunderland came along.
Yeah. No, because Sunderland I just played for the youth team. Got released from Newcastle by Kevin Keegan.
Oh, right,
So I
okay.
was playing for the youth team initially, for Newcastle youth team. But it just, all the YTs are training every single day. So I was just like at school all week, just rocking up and playing on a Saturday.
Yeah.
I think it was never really going to work that, so I stayed on at school, which was advantageous in some ways, because when I signed for professional at Sunderland at 18, £175 a week at 18, because I hadn't done a YT and trained every day, I wasn't as technically as proficient or talented as the other players, but I was a bit, I don't know, your attitude's different, you're a bit more have a go, I wouldn't say fearless, because I was certainly nervous, but you're a bit freer and you just played. Whereas I think if you'd been a YT, you sort of know how it works and you're a bit wary of the pros. Whereas I didn't really have that same fear, I think.
I definitely felt that, like when you're in and around it, because there's such pressures from the pros, from the staff.
The build-up,
yeah, you've really got to have a lot of character.
I didn't really have that, but I signed my first year professional. Me and Paul Heckenbottom, remember Paul Heckenbottom?
Yeah.
Remember him? He's the manager of Sheffield United now.
Yeah.
He was the nicest lads you'll ever meet. So me and him were first year pros. It's gone straight from school.
So what year was this then that you...
This would have been 1996, or 1995
you've left
probably.
Newcastle just as they're about to really...
Yeah, so
you had some top players. Before Shearer went? Shearer went 96, 97,
yeah,
was it Shearer?
So I missed Shearer, unfortunately.
But they had some top players, didn't they?
Newcastle was a really good learning curve, but then I signed for Sunderland in my first year straight from school. So I did my A levels, then signed just to professional, so I hadn't done a YT, and then I got in the first team straight away. I remember making my debut against Ipswich. I remember Peter Reid described me as like being Bambi on ice. But I was like this rapid, but obviously like with the ball wasn't particularly good.
Running it out, playing.
And then in that first season as a professional, I'd only been a professional for 3 years. Peter Reid offered me a 3-year deal. We didn't really talk about money and stuff, but he offered me at the time about 350 quid a week, but it was like £400 an appearance, and it was something like £700 a win. And we won what would have been the championship that year. So I was like 18,
straight
just
out of
on
school.
Was that
ridiculous
if you were in the
money.
squad as well, or just...
Yeah, that was like in the squad on the bench. So I was just, you're earning suddenly like £1,400 a week when you're 18, and you come straight from school. And all my mates have all gone off to uni, and they're all something Newcastle University or Newcastle Polytechnic. So suddenly, after I finished my A levels 3 months later, I'm walking in 3 Bull's Head in Newcastle on £1,400 a week. I'm like, I'll get the drinks in, lads. So it was brilliant like that. No agent or anything back in them days. No. Peter Reid was just, Sam, we're going to offer you a 3-year deal. You've done really well. I'm really impressed with you. This is what you're going to get this year, next year, and the year after. You just want to, have you got a pen? No, here's a pen then, there you go.
Yeah, no negotiating
problem,
whatsoever.
No problem, Gaffer, thank you. There we go. Right, brilliant, sound. See you later, bye. See you training in a bit. That was just the way it was then.
Refreshing, mate.
Then we got promotion to the Premier League in my first season. So my first season in football, I got a championship winners medal. So I'm thinking, well, this is easy, isn't it? I don't know. I'm
1,400
where
quid a week.
Where am I going to put all these medals? I'm going to need a bigger house here. I don't know where I'm going to put all these medals here.
Haven't won one since.
That was the last one. The first and last one. And then we got promotion to the Premier League, and I came through the same time as Michael Bridges. So me and Bridgie were good mates at the time, and we were playing for Sunderland, and obviously he came on as sub and scored a few. I remember last game of the season, we needed a win. Or second last game of the season, we needed a win. I remember I had a big chance, and I cut inside, and I've smashed the ball, and the keeper saved it. It's bounced off his knee and come back and hit me in the face. That was like my big chance. That could have been the goal that clinched promotion. Then I think Michael Bridges scored, then whoever else scored. I was like, that's how my main Bridges' career started to take a different path there.
Was he your age? Or was he?
He's a year younger than me.
Younger.
But when we left Sunderland, he went to Leeds for 5 million, and I went to Shrewsbury for 50 grand. But at the time, when we were 18, definitely, and he was like 17, 18 coming through, I was definitely better than him. I was like, I'm better than you. But then he just had that bit of magic when he came on as sub. He'd just score worldly goals.
That was him as a player, wasn't it? He did have that, didn't he?
He'd look sometimes like the worst footballer in the world.
Where's he the manager now? Is it Australia somewhere?
He's somewhere in Australia. He was on Soccer AM, wasn't he, on Saturday?
Oh, was he?
I played in the first game of the Stadium of Light against Man City. Come on as sub, 42,000 there. Come on as sub, it was 1-1. Come on as sub, we won 3-1. Obviously, I didn't make any assists, but I just tell people I came on as sub at 1-1. Then signed for Shrewsbury, relegation.
After loan at Chester.
Yeah, loans at Chester, loans at Stoke, loan at Shrewsbury. Signed for Shrewsbury, relegation, then a promotion. And whilst that's when at Shrewsbury I started to think, like 27 now, what? I don't know. I thought when I finished playing football, I'd just be playing golf in Portugal.
Give it a go on the PGA, maybe.
I don't think that's going to happen. I'm not great at golf. I don't think I've got enough money to retire. So I started thinking, what shall I do? So I did. I started doing a business degree, which it's like back then. I used to get hammered. I used to shoot off train on a Tuesday and a Thursday afterwards. Oh, you're off to school now, and I'd be like, oh yeah. You'd be a little bit. It started a little bit embarrassed. Then in the end, you just got to own it, haven't you? And I said, yeah, I am. Yeah, I'm thinking about what I'm going to do in the future. I say like to all the rest of the lads, you just keep on believing that you're going to retire when you're 34, £5 million in the bank. You won't.
You've done it at quite a good age, really, because say a lot of people leave it a lot later than that. So to have the foresight at 27 to think,
definitely, yeah. Looking back on that was something that I was really.
And did that come from you, or was it obviously you was with Holly at that point and things like that?
I just thought, what are you going to do? People had sort of, and I think I had my daughter when I was 28, so I think my wife was pregnant at the time. So I remember thinking, it's like you've got to start thinking about your future now. So I had the foresight to do that, which was good. I mean, we had a few lads like that as well. I remember Jake Sedgemore, he was an architect, and he was somebody who came, because we'd gone into non-league, which helped us a little bit, because we started to sign some of the lads who had a little bit more about them, because they'd come through non-league setup where they'd got careers.
Similar to my situation, wasn't it? Similar to my situation, where you're looking round and you got like half the guys who are living in dreamland, and then you've got a few of the lads who are chipping off early. When I was at Grays, actually, I travelled in with a lad. You'll know him, Ash Nichols. Yeah, great lad, and he's now a doctor, so he's working in the labs, cancer research and all of that. Amazing achievement. He was like your typical lower league footballer, loved the beer, loved the crack, but as soon as we were done training, he's like, we're gonna have to chip off. I'll be like, just hang about a bit, or we'll do this. And he's like, no, come on, we've got to chip off. And obviously then in the car saying, well, what are you up to? And of course, at the time, you give him loads of stick, because that was the culture, wasn't it? If anyone seemed
we're going to the pub, you're going to do, you're going to go and write a dissertation. You loser.
If someone seemed to be trying to better themselves, obviously you can't have that. So it's like you're hammering people. But
that all the way through. Even at the end of my Shrewsbury career, if I went in just a little bit smart, so if I had a nice pair of trousers, Edo's got a meeting, and straight away as I'm walking out, they're all on my case.
Yeah. But like you say, there's it's not a coincidence, is it? You look back at some of the guys that did make that decision, and obviously it's paid dividends, hasn't it? I mean, it certainly has done around this table.
I was thinking, I've told this story loads as well. I remember a bit of a day of reckoning, and I was only young at the time. I was only about 19, and we were playing Arsenal away for Sunderland, and I came on as sub. And I remember I was faster than everybody. And I remember getting the ball. And I was playing against Tony Adams and Steve Bull and just getting a bit bullied by them. But I was like, well, I'm a kid. They're older. I remember getting the ball at Highbury. And I was playing, Patrick Vieira was playing. And he'd just come over from France. And I thought, he left me about 15 yards of space down the wing. And I thought, idiot. You don't leave 15 yards of space to Sam Aiston. So I've knocked the ball down the wing and just like, see ya. Yeah. And he's just opened his legs and he just matched me sort of stride for stride. As we've both come to the ball at the same time, he's just put his foot on it, just sort of rolled his foot on top of the ball, pulled the ball back, just moved me out the way with his right arm. Then he started bringing the ball back the other way. I've tried to get back at him. He's just put his left arm across and just moved me out the way and just opened his legs and accelerated away. And I just thought, oof. And at the time, he was 19 and I was 19. And I thought, oh dear.
Yeah.
Levels.
Yeah. Levels.
And you suddenly think, it's all, I've always been faster than everybody. Suddenly I've just come up against someone who's my age.
Yeah.
And he's just showed me the difference between me and him is huge. And I was thinking, how on earth am I ever going to close that gap?
I'll let you have that one, Patrick.
Yeah.
We'll come back to this later.
Yeah. He's like, there won't be a next time because because he's going to the top.
Yeah.
And, so I think that's when you sort of realise that. I mean, not that I did anything about it then, but I remember thinking then going, can't see how I'm going to play top level of the Premier League if that's
But it's their moments, isn't it? It's their moments in games.
Humbling.
It's their moments in and around training. It's their moments around your teammates that you are sort of, I suppose, relatively clever enough to make them decisions or not. And I've had conversations with lads who are brilliant, the foresight to be able to see the future and what they want to do, fantastic. I've also seen lads who are just absolutely delusional.
Yeah.
Lads who have never been in a certain situation and still believe they're in their 30s and they're like, I'm expecting to play in the Championship. You're like, like trying to have a conversation with these lads is obviously very difficult because one, you don't want to kill people's dreams, and you obviously got to go about it very carefully. But as they get older, at some point, somebody's going to have to say, look, come on, you need to think of the next stage. But yeah,
I think being at Shrewsbury helped though, like I said before, because we had a few lads, like remember Darren Tinson who started being
physio,
and we had Kevin Streetwood been doing.
Streety was trained to be a pastor, wasn't he?
Yeah, so he was a bit of a man of God, wasn't he? I remember him trying to say, I don't know if you remember that, Dave, when we did wrestling, we tried to get us all to say a little prayer together.
Yeah.
He was like,
deadly serious.
Yeah, he was like, lads, everybody gather around. We've got Luke Rogers, Ian Dunbavin, Darren Moss, all these lads. He's going, shall we say a prayer? And I was going, no, I don't know about that, sweetie. I think some of these lads are going to hell. I think all the prayers in the world are on saving some of these souls. We tried, didn't he? I think, bless him. He was one of the nicest lads you'll ever meet. But those sort of people...
It was good because that era, when Jimmy Quinn came in the conference season, he brought a lot of lads from the better lower league, the better non-league players. So let's say the likes of Jake Sedgmore coming, who had this real successful architecture business. And football was almost like still his hobby, but he's playing.
Yeah, football was his second job, whereas he was playing with us. And for us, it was our main thing. But it made us think, actually, hold on a minute, there's other things to do. So from there, I carried that on. So then I signed for Tranmere, Brian Little, which was a good season for us. A bit of a roller. Talk about highs and lows of football. Played Oldham. I think it was Oldham. Might have been Chesterfield. I can't remember who it was. And we won 4-1. I scored 2 on the Saturday. We won 4-1, and I was thinking, good luck, Tranmere, keeping hold of me end of the season. Then on the Tuesday, we were getting beat 1-0, and I got subbed at half time. And I thought, there's the highs and lows of football. They go from Saturday, whereas I'm literally thinking, well, that's League One there. I'm absolutely ripping it up. I'm going in the Championship to sitting on the bench after 55 minutes going, I don't know if I'm going to get a contract.
It is an absolute...
A week is a long time.
Yeah, a week.
I remember playing at Fleetwood and winning away 2-0 on a Saturday, thinking that's it then, and then getting to the Tuesday, because the squad was so big then, and there was obviously a lot of money working through the leagues. Weren't even in the squad on the Tuesday. Those moments where you're right up there, aren't you? You're buzzing, you've been working so hard, you get that little moment, and then to be back on your backside literally a couple of days later.
That's why it's good though. That's why for your kids as well, football's good, because like you say, the Patrick Vieira, or you get released. So I got released, things were brilliant. You get released from Tranmere, then I went to Northampton, got released from there. And you end up, it's part of football, isn't it? Getting released or getting told you're not wanted, or at the very least you're going to get dropped a lot. So it's quite humbling.
Them poignant moments are big, aren't they, for character? But like you're saying there, it's those individual moments through the course of a season as well, isn't it? Those highs and lows where you can, 1 minute you're on the back of the paper and everybody's celebrating and wants to know you, and then the next minute you've made a mistake and you stay at home and you hide behind your curtains, don't you? They're the moments that set you apart, aren't they?
It sets you up for life. And I remember then when I became a teacher, obviously then I did my degree, then I did my teaching program, and so then when I've qualified to be a teacher, and I'm speaking to all these teachers, and they're saying, you're going to get some feedback on your lesson, and it might be quite brutal, from the local authority. And I was thinking, I think I'll probably be able to handle it. I've had Peter Reid threatening to rip me head off, telling me I'm rubbish. You've had 10,000 people singing Aiston or whatever. You know what I mean? I think I can handle somebody saying, I think your learning intention wasn't quite what it should have been, Sam, or something. I think I'll be able to handle that.
It's different worlds, isn't it? And like you say, when you've been in the football world, it does equip you for
absolutely
a lot of sections of life.
Resilience.
But we say that there's a lot of people it breaks, isn't there? Like we're sitting around the table now talking about.
That's why you're not successful, then, isn't it? Because you've got to have a career for that long. You've got to be resilient.
You find out about yourself, don't you? I mean, for me, obviously, I had 20 years in the lower leagues, which for me was an achievement, because to be, it's not all the airs and graces. There's probably more lows than there are highs. So to be able to sustain that was really big. And there's a lot of lads who I know who've struggled with it, and it can be hard. But like you say, you find out about yourself. There's no alternative other than just to keep cracking on.
And football doesn't kind of go with your emotions. So if you're high in football, it doesn't mean your emotions are high. And likewise, when I find my darkest moments is probably when I was at the highest in my football career, which is bizarre. Yeah.
Why is that then? Expand on that, Dave. Tell us about that. That's quite interesting. What do you mean?
So when we've always got into the Premier League, and we had 3 seasons in the Premier League, but I was suffering with injuries. I was in and out of the team. I felt more pressure because I knew that I was desperate to be playing. You're on the biggest stage, and then when I wasn't playing, it hurt me more, emotionally. And then when I wasn't able to do it physically because I had a stress fracture in my back, I got so low then, and then I felt so guilty for being low. I'm playing the Premier League. What have I got to be depressed about? But I was really in a dark place. But it was at that moment where I just completely changed my whole mindset on life, and that was kind of got to take I can't live on football's emotional roller coaster. I need to stay level-headed all the time. If we're winning, we're losing, injured or not. So that was kind of in sort of the highest moment of my career was when I was the lowest, but then that kind of changed the rest of my life. So I think football does that for you, doesn't it? It makes you find yourself when you got all the critics and you got people who want to tap your backside all the time and say well done, but you know when they're going outside they're going to have you off to someone else.
And that's the point I was making a minute ago, because you can't be a slave to it, because you will not survive. No. And it's another, when you go into football management as well, I know it's obviously at a certain level, but once you go into football management, if you're precious about that, you just don't survive. You have to just take the emotion out of it, understand that you're not going to be everyone's cup of tea, that you're going to get the stick, you're going to have to swallow it, and you just got to keep believing in what you're doing. And absolutely brilliant advice.
Well, it's easy when things are going well. I mean, an agent is a classic one. When I was at Sunderland as a kid, I had millions of agents ringing me up all the time. When I've been released from Northampton, guess how many agents are out there? None, because they're going to have to work really hard to get you a small amount of money, whereas they're going to get a tiny bit of hardly anything, so they're not interested.
And that's what I was saying earlier, how it helped me I become exasperated with forever being linked to bigger clubs, forever, and it not quite happening, it never quite happened. I just became exasperated with that, but it hardened me. Do you know what I mean? It made me go, right, okay, it could have gone two ways, couldn't it? You could have been so despondent that it drives you into a depression, or you just go, right, it's not happening, I've got to think about the next stage, and this is what I'm going to do.
So Sam, teaching, you finished now.
Well, then, teaching, that's it now. Yeah, so I mean, at Gainsborough, when me and Gav were at Gainsborough, I started doing my teaching practice, which, I mean, I had to drop it just to training, just on a Thursday night, and that's when it just started to phase out. That's why I remember being last pick one time in training, and that broke me, that didn't. Last pick!
Sam was looking to me, Gav, pick me. And
all right. I was like, last pick, everyone's going, oh,
dog eat dog out here, mate.
Up, and I was just thinking, I can't be last pick, playing with some of these people. I started calling people out. I'm last pick, and he stood there, he's terrible. So brilliant. In the end, it just sort of fizzled out.
Why teaching though? What kind of led you down that path?
I'd done a bit of coaching for Gav with Crossbar, and I quite enjoyed it with the kids, and I'd done a degree, and a few people said, you should give teaching a go. I started getting into it and really enjoyed it, and then it was just sort of a natural progression then, like you sort of work your way up. And I've always been really interested in leadership and the psychology around leaders, so I'd always trying to better myself as a leader, and still trying to do that now, because I'm still quite a novice really with being a leader, so then became a head teacher. So that's what I'm doing now. And
have you always felt comfortable in that environment, or was it a little bit? Has it ever been daunting, like compared to playing football and in front of however many thousand, and then stand in front of assembly in front of 100 kids?
You weren't always, were you?
I think definitely not. But definitely not, because it's unnatural. Everybody's saying that they're super confident, but you're super confident in something that you're comfortable with, aren't you? So now I'm really comfortable having an assembly, whereas you, David, be comfortable playing in front of 40,000. But if I said stand up in front of an assembly in front of 250 kids, you feel really nervous, because it's what you get used to. I remember watching Gav when he was speaking to the children. I thought, that's quite good. So I remember copying you a little bit and trying to be more outgoing. But it's a bit different being in the staff room to being in the dressing room. Or when you go for a meal with the teachers, when you're with the lads in pre-match and you try and nick their last piece of steak or whatever, you can't do that when you're out for a meal. Or the old one that we used to do with where you have that big teapot and you'd put the metal spoon on the teapot to burn hot and try and burn people with it.
You met my mate
do that
Bernie.
in the staff room with the teacher, with like the maths coordinator. It doesn't go down quite so well, that, to be honest. It's a slightly different banter, I would say, in the staff room. Equally, a lot of transferable skills.
It's fascinating though to see what direction different footballers go in, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's incredible.
Really interesting, but I think it does prepare you in some ways, like we said, resilience and motivation, and feeling that fear in your tummy and the nerves, but you can cope with it because you felt that feeling in your tummy a million times when you've played football. Before a game you'd feel those nerves, but you would have to overcome it. Well, you still get that in other areas of your life, but it doesn't frighten you in the same way. You think that's part of it. Feel the fear and do it anyway, isn't it?
Feel the fear and do it anyway.
Book, didn't we? Brilliant book that was. Was it Susan Jeffers or something?
Yeah,
the book?
some book that.
Feel the fear and do it anyway.
And that was a big thing, wasn't it? Because obviously that transition when you were coming out of football, you come to Crossbar, didn't you? And like you say, I've obviously been in it at that time, and you know, you have to be able to address parents and kids and teachers and be able to feel confident because they're looking to you for that energy.
Address parents. We said undressed parents.
Oh,
then.
yeah,
That's what it was.
That would be a great approach, Dave. Different one that, Dave. But yeah, no, I remember us having a conversation, and you were saying, weren't you? You're saying like you're having to do this, and saying it doesn't just come naturally. You have to find a way. You have to feel that fear. Do it anyway. You have to, you know, put yourself out there. I suppose I describe it like karaoke. You know, someone goes and does karaoke and they're terrible. If they own it, everybody joins in and loves it. If someone's terrible and they don't really own it, everyone's a bit, this is awkward, you know. And so I suppose it's that feeling. Just go and just prepare the best you can. I mean, that's another podcast when we talk about preparation and leadership and all of that. I mean, we talk endlessly about this off air, but I'm sure that'll be podcasts to come. But it's those things, isn't it, that, like you say, transferable skills from football actually makes this world not easier, a different challenge, but you feel like you can cope because of obviously the scrutiny
What
that you've been under with
What were you
football.
two like at initiations though in football? New dressing room. That's my worst nightmare. Did you have to stand up and do a song when you see
I was like, pick me.
Oh,
it wasn't
mate,
too
my
bad. I used to have
stomach
American
is so
Pie.
horrible.
But by the time I signed, when I signed for about 13 different clubs, I was like, we're not doing initiations. I've nailed American Pie. I know all 7 verses. Get me up there, please. Gav, encourage the lads to make me do an initiation. I've got American Pie ready to go here.
I'm not waving in their face going, pick me, I'll do it.
Do the moonwalk, moonwalk.
Really want to embarrass someone, I'll do that.
We need to wrap that up, lads. Anyway, it's 1 hour 15. It'll be interesting to know.
It won't be an hour 15 when it goes out. We can cut some stuff like that, can't we?
It'll be interesting to know, though, because that podcast's a little bit different, isn't it? I'd be interested to know what people think of that. So, you know, please be honest with your feedback, listeners, because I don't know, it's slightly different. We've got a million different stories we can tell, but we're quite good to get some feedback and know what we need to do in the future. We're definitely going to get some guests on, aren't we? Hopefully we'll get
we said about guests.
Get Joe Hart, Ryan Lewis, a couple of those will be great to get on. We're definitely going to get
I had a conversation with Gary Peters as well. That's good to let everyone know. So that's a bit ongoing. So he's in good spirits and feeling good. So.
But I think we just want a bit of feedback, don't we? I mean, we've got a million stories we can tell, but I don't know, it depends what people want to do.
A bit more of a serious one, wasn't it, today?
Yeah, so, I don't know how that'll be received, will it? But be honest, give us feedback, please, and let us know. I think that wraps it up.
How it goes. We're running out of funny stories then, is that what it is?
I've got loads. I'm ready to go.
I was going to say, because if you want me to step up, there's no problem.
I was trying to read the room a little bit, a bit of emotional intelligence, and we can go again with those.
You're never good at reading the room, mate.
Episode 5, straight back on it.
Okay, thanks very much, anybody. Please leave us some feedback.
inthestiffs@gmail.com. Twitter @inthestiffs, Instagram @inthestiffs, Facebook @inthestiffs.
Instagram.
We're on Instagram now.
Yes.
Yeah, on the cover photo, Wits and I.
Get some filters on that, Wit. Okay, thanks very much, everybody. Let us know what you think, and thanks very much, everybody.